Morning, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Ultralight Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. What I thought we'd do today is talk about packable fishing kits. I've got several different ways that I pack fishing kits, depending on what type of fish I want to fish for and the location that I'm at, and whether I have conveyance or don't have conveyance makes a difference as well. But I want to show you things that all are packable that you can put in a backpack, walk away from a vehicle, to go fish a stream, to go fish a small pond, to do some pond hopping on the road if you wanted to from your vehicle. All those types of things are very easy to do with some very compact kits. So stay with me and we'll get started. All right, so I've got several different pieces of fishing kit laid here on my Jeep. Some of it came out of my drawers on my deck that I carry with me all the time. Some of the stuff that I brought out here that I would pack in to fish. So let's start off with hand lines, because I think hand lines are a very convenient way to carry fishing equipment inside a backpack, no matter what you're doing, just in case you run across a pond or something, if you're out camping, or a stream that you want to fish. So I've got 4 different ones here. This one is the original Pathfinder hand line. It's made with an energy drink tube. It's got tackle storage on the inside. That's got a cap that screws on with a lanyard so you don't lose it. It's just rubber tubing wrapped in fishing line, and then a little bit of rubber tubing over the top of that to hold it on. It works really good for casting. This is probably one of my favorite kits right here because it just casts very, very well. Yeah, he ain't the biggest fish on the planet, but it's a fish. We'll take every one we can get. Let's go show you that little hand reel. Thing will catch some fish for sure. As far as something that's easy to make and inexpensive. I think we used to sell these for about 15 bucks with the fishing tackle in them. I'm working on getting some new handline fishing kits on our website, so stay tuned because my buddy Jake Trent is making them up for me right now. Another one. And we're fighting him. Come on. Get up here, you. Oh, little bass, a little bigger than the other one was. Little bass are hitting good tonight. They like them wax worms. There you go. Uh-oh, took my bait. Figure that out. Holy cow. There we go. A little bigger than the last one. Now, this is the K-Bar fishing kit, or K-Bar hand reel that's available on Amazon. There'll be a link to some of the stuff in the description box of my video here, or a direct link to my Amazon store where the stuff resides. This K-Bar kit's nice because, number one, it has tackle storage inside the handle. So you can just put a bag of tackle in there, and I've got a couple bobbers in there as well. And then sinkers, hooks, things like that, and you snap that on. And then it has a keeper on it to keep your line from unraveling, that you just take that off when you want to cast it. It works really, really well. Again, lanyard, very simple methodology, but very packable and small. This one is one that was made by a gentleman and sent. Same thing, it's got a little bit of area in the center of it here that can be used for storing line. And then I just take the line and wrap it around and stick a piece of it inside and put the cork in that, just like that, to hold it in. And again, lanyard hole. This is a very simplistic one, turned on a lathe most likely. I do find that this one does not spool as well as the other one does as far as when you cast it, because it has a hard edge right here for the line to come off of, and that doesn't cast well. Again, that's why I like the tube so well, even over the K-Bar. And the K-Bar is not bad, but you can see it's got a ledge there, and it doesn't cast as well with that ledge on it as something like this, which is a dagger fishing kit. Now, this is a more expensive kit. Again, turned on a lathe most likely, made in America. Again, a little more expensive, but it does work very, very well. I've got it tangled up here, and I don't even have my glasses on to see how to untangle it. I've got the hook wrapped up in here. There we go. But you can see that it doesn't have a ledge on it hardly at all. It's got 2 compartments for storing things in this one. It's got a compartment in the front here where you can store tackle. It also has a compartment in the back that you can store tackle. So I like this one really well. And this one actually comes with a leather belt case. So I just wind it all up on there when I'm not using it. Take the leather belt case, slide it down to the leather belt case, turn it so it traps everything like the bobber and the hook and all of that 9 yards in the flap. Pull the flap over and it's got a magnetic flap on it. And that works really, really well. It's a good system. You can carry it on your belt if you want to, like I said. So it's an easy packable system. So these hand lines work really, really well. Now, if you're using this for something like a drop line, then you may want to use like a yo-yo system of some kind. You don't really have to cast it, you're just dropping it off of a bridge or something like that to fish. Those work just as well. Yo-yos, the donuts that you hold on to with the line spooled around them, all those work really good for drop fishing. So those are an option that I don't carry because I don't do very much of that. Now, if I were going around saltwater areas or taking a trip down to Florida, definitely I'm going to carry those yo-yos and donuts with me because they work really, really well for bridge fishing and things like that. Okay, so let's get away from the hand lines for a minute and get to something that's a little bit more compatible. And I say compatible because with hand line fishing, you're fairly restricted in what you can do. You're mostly still fishing, bobber type fishing with those. You can put jigs under the bobber, things like that, and yes, you can still jig fish. And you actually, if you've got one that winds fairly quickly, like this one, works really well for this. I've actually used small, like 16th ounce rooster tails and things like that with this kit. I actually probably have a couple of them in here because I can wind it pretty fast to keep that bait moving through the water. And I have caught fish like that. I've got videos from years and years ago using this thing to catch all kinds of fish with. So you can go back and look at those videos if they're still on my site. All right, now let's talk about fishing kits, like fishing rods, okay? There's lots of these collapsible fishing rods on the market. And to be honest with you, most of them I feel are trash. I've used a lot of them, I've broke a lot of them. And what I found is if you just get a decent fishing rod that's compact, it's going to be better. Or something like an M rod, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's a little heavier. So this is probably one of my very favorites right here. I've had this one for probably 5, 6, 7 years. I've used it in other videos on the water's edge. And this is a Daiwa mini spin. And all of it goes into this right here. So I have this small sleeve that the entire rod will fold into because it's a 4-section rod. And this holds my reel. And I can put that entire kit in a backpack and have an actual fishing rod that I can use to fish any way I choose to fish, as long as the lures I'm using aren't too heavy, obviously, because this is a very ultralight action rod. Now, tackle box that I would carry with something like that would be this, okay? This is the tackle box I generally would carry when I'm fishing with an ultralight pole. And it's just got a couple different compartments in it that have, this one's got mostly rooster tails, a cigarette lighter, and a small multi-tool with scissors on it. The other side has more still fishing stuff in it, but also more rooster tails. As you can tell, I'm a fan of rooster tails. All right, so we're out here in the Jeep today, just jumping a few ponds in a wildlife area. I've got this mini spin, Daiwa mini spin. I've used this a lot of times. Just got a small rooster tail on here, crawdad color. Got a small tackle box on my hip. That's the way I like to attack these small ponds. And these little Daiwa mini spins are perfect for that. There's one. Little bluegill whacked it there. Come on up here, boy. There's one. These sectional rods, kind of always want to go up and down these rods every once in a while. Just kind of make sure everything's staying tight because you're kind of whipping those sections when you're throwing that bait. Sometimes you can whip them loose, so you got to kind of be careful with that. There's another one right there. Get that thing right there at the edge of the weeds. There's another one. A little bluegill there. And then I've got some hooks, sinkers, bobbers, and I'm ready to do whatever I want to do. I don't generally use too many small lures other than these rooster tails when I'm out fishing because they're almost, to me, that's like if you can't catch fish with a rooster tail, then the fish aren't there because they're going to bite them. Now you could mix and match some lures in here, but I save that for my larger rods. Okay, the other small rod that I like really well is this St. Croix. Now, of course, you're talking about a lot more money when you're talking about a St. Croix rod and a nice reel, but you can get that package pretty small. It's going to sit down inside of a backpack on the side, like in a water bottle carrier or whatever. It can be molly strapped across very, very easily. Car just went by on a gravel road here out in the wildlife area. And there's drain holes on the bottom of this to keep it dry. This is a very good package as well. And it doesn't really matter what rod and reel you buy, as long as they're decent ones. The Daiwas lasted me for a long time and they're fairly inexpensive on Amazon. A St. Croix rod is a lot more money, but they are very sensitive. They're very well-built rods. And then, of course, I've got a more expensive reel in here as well. Just another option for an ultralight spinning rod, if that's what you choose to carry with you. Now, let's talk about M-Rod for a minute, okay? I'm really fond of these M-Rods. They're heavier than an ultralight rod, so they're gonna be way more in your pack. But they are a two-piece, they unscrew, this piece pops completely out, and it's a one-piece rod and a handle, basically that you can put a reel on. Very easy to pack this thing inside of a water bottle pocket or whatever you've got on the side of your backpack. It's a coiled steel rod, so again, that makes it a little bit heavy. However, a rod that's as short as this will catch some pretty nice fish, you'll see in this video. I just pulled this guy in, this M-Rod setup with a bait caster on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 coils. That's definitely a keeper bass right there. That thing is definitely over the limit. We're gonna let him go anyway. I just like catching them. And it will throw larger lures, and you can get this in a bait casting, you can get this in a fly, or you can get this in a spin casting, all made by M-Rod, and they make different poles that fit in the handles, so that you only have to buy maybe one handle or two, depending on how you want to fish it. Like I've actually got more of a spin cast handle on here with a bait cast reel, instead of like a bait cast baseball or pistol grip type handle on here. But I enjoy that. I like fishing like that. It works really well for me. And this thing has caught a lot of fish for me. And it's not that heavy to carry. Now, other ways of fishing. And now, I guess I should say, when I'm carrying that, I'm carrying more larger tackle, okay? So I've got larger rooster tails. I've got larger baits in here for topwater. I've got larger baits in here that are, you know, shallow running baits and things like that, because I don't fish too much deep water right off the road or out camping. Most of that water is fairly shallow, so I don't need any big lip, deep running baits. So I just keep a couple crawdad color baits in here that are, you know, mid-depth runners, mostly rooster tails and meps, and some topwater stuff looks like frog or shad. If you can't catch fish with that, something's wrong. Yes, you can fish worms with it, things like that, but I carry a separate box for that if I'm planning to worm fish. All right, so that takes care of those type rods. Now, the other type rod I carry once in a while, depending on what I'm doing and where I'm at, is a Tenkara USA rod. There's several companies that make Tenkara style rods out there. I've done several videos on making your own Tenkara rods and things like that. This package is pretty minimal, all right? Pretty minimal. And they make them smaller than this even, but this package in itself can be used for fly fishing in Tenkara style. So you've got a line that's as long as the rod basically, or a little longer, and you're basically flipping that fly into running water. It works really, really well. I'll try to get some video this year, Tenkara fishing up in the West Virginia mountains or something like that, where I know there's some good trout streams, things like that. Not as good for around here in eastern woodlands, although you can catch panfish, obviously, on flies. I just find it easier to catch them with a spinning rod most of the time, pulling something like a lure, than some kind of a topwater fly. Now, you could use a streamer with this as well, obviously, but it's not going to work as well because you don't have the reel. So this is more for flip fishing, dapping, Tenkara type fishing in streams and running water, okay? But that system works really, really well. If you're interested in any of these systems, you can look at specific videos I've got or that other people have on their channels. I just wanted to kind of walk through some of the things that I carry when I'm fishing so you guys can see some of these minimal type fishing kits. Now, I do have a backpack here that I keep with my fishing gear in case I want to walk away from the truck and fish. It's got enough room in it for a water bottle, a couple of tackle boxes, you know, and a little bit of emergency kit, something like that. And it's just a simple sling pack I can throw over my shoulder and go. And I just keep that in this box here in my Jeep in case I want to walk away from the vehicle and I want to take some water, take a snack, take some tackle with me, take my spinning rod and go. So I just wanted you guys to see all of that stuff today and kind of get a feel for what I carry and what I've got. And some of this stuff is in my Amazon store. Some of it is not, because you can't buy it off Amazon. You've got to buy it other places. But I will give you guys a close-up look at all of this stuff within this video as well.